Hey guys, I want to introduce you to Rocket.net. They are a super fast WordPress managed hosting provider who I use for my business and all my clients. In fact, Entrepreneurs Enigma's website runs on Rocket. Rocket is not only one of the fastest hosts out there for WordPress websites, they are extremely reliable, knowledgeable, and there for you when you need them. I've been in the WordPress web design world for more than 15 years. I've used a bunch of hosting providers in the past, but none have nearly been as good as Rocket, nor have they been reliable enough. I wouldn't trust my website to anyone else. We all know stuff happens online. Rocket has always had my back when I get stuck on something, and something happens with an update or something gets hacked. Rocket support is fast, and the reps are beyond fluent in the WordPress CMS, so they can solve the most complex issues quickly and effectively. So go check them out. Give them a shot. Go to gmedia.sh/rocket. That's gmedia.sh/rocket. Use the code Enigma. That's the Enigma, Enigma, at checkout and get 50% off the first 3 months of hosting. That's Enigma, Enigma, and get 50% off the first 3 months of hosting. Trust me, you'll be glad you moved to Rocket. I sure am.
You're listening to Entrepreneur's Enigma, a podcast about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. Every week, your host Seth Goldstein interviews entrepreneurs from all walks of life about their entrepreneurial journeys. From store owners to Fortune 500 CEOs, we all have stories to tell. So sit back and join us for the next 20 or so minutes while we explore the entrepreneurial world.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today I have a good buddy of mine, Standiford, right? I said that right? There's an I hidden in there.
There is, yep. It's a very sneaky eye. It's why nobody can spell it right.
I'm sure you hear Stanford's, all the kind of stuff.
I had a nickel.
If you had a nickel, you'd be rich.
Yeah, for sure.
You'd be able to fix your RV too, in that case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
for sure.
Alex is a former digital nomad, literally. Like I'm talking about nomading around the country, nomad. Like in an RV, in a fifth wheel RV with his family, which is what? Your wife, you, and 2 kids, and then animals.
Yep. Me, my wife, 2 kids, 2 cats, and a dog.
Yeah, he's certifiable. In some shape or form, certifiable.
It was fun.
Well, it was 5 years, right?
Yeah, 4. But yeah, it was still
4. But and then unfortunate things. The guy who was moving it for you kind of didn't know how to take a turn, and it was like,
something. I don't know. He sideswiped something and didn't tell us, and then just kind of bolted. And we ended up actually totaling that camper.
Now you're on a foundation, living your best life. You were formerly working for GoDaddy. Now you're on your own. You have your Siren Affiliates plugin. You're doing development. You're living the life, buddy.
Yeah, I'm living a life. It's a good life. It's a very, very hectic. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of transition right now for me.
Dog.
Yeah.
The wife.
Yeah, but the good thing is I have a door now. I'm a huge fan of doors after living in a camper for a while.
Because you were working in a common area. You had the bedrooms, but you had how'd that work?
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, these headphones I'm wearing right now are they're pass through, so I could hear the noise outside around me. Yeah. These were not what I used in the camper. I was using noise canceling ones, and sometimes I would actually put earplugs in on top of it, and then put headphones on, and then turn the volume up on the music. Because my kids were being homeschooled. Yeah, so I would actually I would sit at my desk, and I specifically had it facing the wall, so I didn't see what was going on behind me, and I'd wear headphones to be able to isolate myself from the sound. It worked really well. The only thing that would happen is the camper would shake a little bit if the kids were jumping or running around too much, especially on gravel or dirt.
And you did this during COVID too.
Yeah. That's when we decided we were going to start traveling in January, and then by February, COVID was like full swing. And you actually
had COVID in the camper too.
Yeah, we did. We managed to.
I remember the whole story.
I know, it's great. It's great. But
we busy mastodoning or tweeting or posting about how God, this sucks.
Yeah, we made it pretty far. We went because the thing that's kind of cool about being in a camper is you're able to isolate a lot easier. So
You're
like
pretty much
when we were
isolated.
traveling, yeah, so because we had an entire environment that we were bringing around with us. So like if we were in
COVID and all.
yeah, right, for better or for worse. But usually it was for the better. So like if we were traveling and we needed the only time we would ever potentially be exposed to anybody was at grocery stores. Even when we were traveling and we get gas at a gas station or need to use the restroom or something, we just use our
And you
camper.
had your
So like,
entertainment too.
yeah,
You
totally.
had
So
your
like
each other for entertainment. You had
yeah,
TV.
yep. And it
You had
actually
your
kind
game
of,
systems.
it kind of like messed with how our travel went for the next few years. Like even now, as we're reflecting on it, we're like, if we were going to do that again, I would probably do this, and this differently. Like we would
Of
have probably gone out
course.
to use libraries more and stuff like that. Just because when we started, we couldn't, and then we just
You
never
literally
like
could not go to a
right,
library. Yeah. So
right.
you
So then
had to
like we
face
just
the
never
wall.
right. So we never like, and then it never clicked that we could do that until we were done. And now we're sitting here and we're like, we could have probably like gone to a library, like parked at a campground that's closer to a library or something like that, and done
You
school at
could
the
have gotten out of the
library.
house and gone to work at a library or gone to
Yeah,
Panera, but back in
yeah,
2020 and 2021, wow, it's
hmm
hard to say
yeah,
fast. You couldn't. And
yeah,
then I
for
think
sure.
as things let up, but then, I mean, serendipity is kind of a strange mistress. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, would you think you'd still be on the road if the camper wasn't mangled?
Probably actually, because that was like the last piece of our puzzle. Because that was being delivered to Texas, and once that was in Texas, we would have had a camper in Vermont, we would have had a camper in Texas, and then we would have had a smaller one that we were going to use to go around, travel around. We would have probably just bounced back and forth between Vermont and Texas indefinitely.
That's odd.
Um, yeah,
And then,
but
but
it's okay.
somehow you ended up in Ohio.
Yeah, that's where I grew up, so I didn't know where to go, and so we were like,
The
let's
family's there and
just
all that.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely not where I would choose to live. I don't hate where I live by any means,
It's
but it's
Ohio. Like, people who don't know where
uh,
Ohio people Europeans
yeah.
do not know where Ohio is.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, this state is famously picked on by the youngins these days, right?
Oh, or
So
by our generation with what was it? Drew Carey would go at the end of the intro, would go Ohio, Ohio, Ohio.
yeah, right. Just so somebody would talk about it. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. It's fine, but
Yes, but through all this journey, you were doing full time work, you were doing side hustles, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're keeping yourself busy, which it's not hard to do when you have two
yeah,
kids, a wife, a dog, and two cats.
yeah, and you're 25 minutes away from Yosemite,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So you're always doing something. Like, how did you
Oh yeah.
manage to do all of that and have a side hustle that then eventually turned into a main hustle?
Well, I didn't have a side hustle at that point,
Oh,
so
you dare try a side hustle.
yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I did a little. That's not completely true.
You
I did
tinkered.
have a side hustle. Yeah, so prior to traveling, I actually ran an agency, a WordPress agency for a few years. And then I ended up getting a job at Sandhills Development working on affiliate WP. And I stopped doing the agency work pretty much entirely.
Yeah.
And I
Having a
found that
paycheck's kind of nice.
yeah, right. Well, it's not even just that. It was also just the general like there was just so much less responsibility really,
Mhm.
and I was able to focus on working on that job and
Mhm.
it was a really good job, really good management, and all that stuff. So I was able to like I just found that I had a lot more space in my brain, in my time and everything else. That enabled me to actually be able to capitalize on doing all the traveling and stuff like that. Like in hindsight, whenever I talk about it and I think about it now, I actually think about the RV, the 4 years that we spent in the RV as like an accidental sabbatical of sort. It wasn't a full blown, like a
No, because
real
you weren't even,
true
you're
one.
still working.
Yeah.
But
But it was
it was
like,
like a sabbatical from the other side of it, not work life,
yeah,
but a sabbatical from being stuck in a house home.
right. And it was scale and the work that I was doing was scaled back and the sense of like ownership and responsibility and stuff like that was
Can
scaled
you
back to the
imagine
point.
doing an agency from an RV?
No, I can't. I can't even like the only reason
You
why
need a mailbox. Like, you
no, it would
literally
be
need a
well,
mailbox.
yeah, that's not there's ways to work around that. But
Yeah, but with two
it's
kids, two cats, a dog, and a wife,
the
and running an
it's
agency,
yeah, yeah, I wanted no part of that. So I was able to actually focus on those things. Now I was while I was in the camper, we
while we
would
were in the
go
camper.
to while we were living in the camper, yeah, we would end up in Texas
Yeah.
in November and December, and sometimes January too, depending.
Good place.
But we
to
didn't
be.
really.
Not usually that cold.
Right. It's relatively
Versus
warm.
Vermont, which is like, oh my God, I can't feel my feet.
Yeah, right. You need to get out of there by September because it's getting cold.
Yeah.
But
which it is not right now. My mom has a house in Weston, and I just doxed my mom. Not really, but you know, she has a house in Weston, and it's hot up there still, which is kind of disturbing. But you know,
for sure. Yeah, so we would spend time in Texas, but we wouldn't move at that time. So during those months, I had a lot more time available to me, and I found myself getting bored. But no, right, exactly. So I started doing what I would call, I would take snacks, I call them, which would be just like WordPress gigs. It was a gig, right? A WordPress gig that's like
someone like Seth got stuck on something. Hey, Alex, got $1,000 for you.
Right.
You fix this damn thing from that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was usually bigger than that, but it was like,
thank you, buddy.
It was usually like, well, no, I don't mean in terms of dollars. I mean in terms of, well, not necessarily not, but like in terms of scope. Like, so it would be like, I have this plugin build. I have this, like one of them was like, I have this news company that this agent came to me and they're like, they have this news company that they're maintaining and they needed this third party REST integration with their custom API. They needed
and they were like, this is above our pay grade.
Alex, right.
You do this.
Right. So they hired me to come in and do that. And it worked out great because they happened to need somebody in November. Right. So
it's perfect.
It was perfect. So like I worked on that for November, December, and then a little bit of January. And while I was already parked and in one spot. And I call them snacks because they are fun, they're tasty, and they, bring really great short-term results. But if you have too much of them, it makes you sick. You feel sick.
I like that now.
Yeah.
And you were working at GoDaddy at the time too, right?
I was, yeah. At that point, I had switched over from Sandhills.
They're kind of cool about you. I mean, a lot of these hosting companies are kind of cool with saying they want you to kind of keep building stuff that's going to benefit them in the long run if you know how to do something. So
yeah, I found that. Yeah, I mean, my management, it depends. GoDaddy's a big company, so you never know like different facets of it. But like where I was, they were okay with it. Yeah. So
having your snacks.
Having my snacks, exactly. And it I think it actually benefits businesses to allow that because well, for one, it's an outlet, right? Like there's one specific way that you work in a company. There's one specific set of problems that you're solving.
Assembly line,
right. In a lot of ways. Yeah. So allowing people to be able to work outside of that gives them an opportunity to, mix things up a little bit, work on different things that helps them stay fulfilled and ready to be able to be there at their job, ironically enough. If you do it in a healthy amount, again, it's a snack. You have to think of it like that, right?
You don't get bloated.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. So that was a lot of it, a lot of that mentality. And then I would just not pick up anything.
Because they can be plenty busy, like I can't have snacks. I don't have any time.
Right, exactly. I have time to have a full-time job, travel. I have three things that I was doing. I was picking up snacks, I was traveling, and I was working at GoDaddy at that point. And I could have two of them. I could never do all three.
You can rotate them. So when you're stationary, you could do. You're not moving. You're actually in a house of sorts. Somewhat. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. So and then obviously when we stopped traveling, I realized that we were pretty burnt out on the travel. Honestly, like we were ready to move on.
It's like serendipity is a weird thing that it's like maybe you needed a break.
Yeah, well, we looked at the situation and we looked at where we were at. We were like, this is probably time. We've been talking about it. We've been thinking about stopping.
A sabbatical. Sabbatical.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm ready to have more of a provincial kind of life, sedentary, even like just a boring. I don't even boring is the right way, but relatively speaking,
mobile life.
Yeah, less mobile. Yeah, sticks and bricks and all that jazz.
Sticks and bricks.
So yeah, we did that, and then all of a sudden I found that because I'm not traveling, I was like, okay, well now I can start. And at that time I had been working on Siren a little bit.
Yeah, Siren is an affiliate management plugin, which I bought because I wanted to support you. I still haven't used it yet. I'll be honest. I bought it. I put it on my site because I was like, I'm going to get, I'll give you all the data I can get through and all that stuff. I'm like, don't need this yet, but it's Alex. Of course, I'm going to buy his plugin. So yeah.
And you got that lifetime deal. You got that sweet deal. Yeah. I'm never going to offer a price that good again. But
I was like, I'll get it if I never use it, whatever. I supported Alex on his launch, which was exciting. So We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I started working on Siren, and then I ended up realizing that I wanted to do, I was really having fun with it, really enjoying it, and we weren't traveling anymore. And I was like, man, maybe I do have the capacity to like, maybe I'm ready. It wasn't even maybe, it was just, I woke up one day and I was just like, oh, okay, it's time to do an agency again. Like, I was just like, it was like that clear. It was like, I'm ready, let's go. And
now you only had 2 things to worry about again.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
and snacks and the entrees.
Yeah, and there was some time away from it, time to reflect in that again, accident. This is what I mean, accidental sabbatical. So there was a lot of reflecting on that phase of my life. My first design frame is what it was, my agency, and what it was like to work in that, and like the pros and cons, and like facing, do I even want to do it anymore? Am I okay with being an employee? Do I love, like, there, because there's a lot to love about it.
Like, both, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So like having just really internalized and reflected on that stuff over that 4-year period, I come back and it was just like it all just kind of culminated, and I just had this clarity where I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to go do it now. It wasn't tumultuous in that moment. It wasn't like,
oh, you left on good terms, which is what you want to do, because you can always boomerang back if you absolutely had to.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Not gonna
Totally. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Yes, you should definitely do that. So, I took my exit from GoDaddy a couple months ago.
Oh, it's only been a few months. Wow.
Yeah. I think, I don't even remember the exact day I left, but it hasn't been long. It was like, I want to say somewhere around the end of August, early September.
Oh wow! So it was a very quiet exit. You kind of tiptoed out, said bye, and you went on your merry way. That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a conversation about it, and so yeah, I ended up leaving and then started building, developing and getting more clients who can actually do, and started outsourcing some of the different things, and
absolutely,
and all that stuff. So yeah, it's been exciting. It's been like that. And that's kind of what I mean by like the last couple of months have just been crazy.
Yeah,
because it's like I feel like I've been fast tracking an entire business in a lot of ways, and I don't mean like I'm taking shortcuts.
You can miss the goofs.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's kind of what it feels like. It's like, I know that if I knew then what I knew now, how would I have done this differently? And I'm just kind of doing those things. Yeah. And a lot of that is just, one, getting help faster, and
knowing when you need help, and then sucking and not having that pride crap that is like,
right,
I don't want to ask for help. No, ask for help.
Yeah. No,
I'm okay with I'm on version 2 of Goldstein Media. I had Goldstein Media at the very beginning, like 2008. Kid was born, got a full-time job in corporate America, learned I hated corporate, went back to Goldstein Media. And I learned that, like, look, I can't do everything. I can't do websites and sales and all that stuff. So I got myself a small little team, and that's what you do. You live and you learn on what you can do and what you can't do, and like you do what you can do, and you hire for the rest.
Yeah, all you can do is start. Just start, do the thing, make the mistakes. I mean, every owner I know, any business owner, any entrepreneur I know, they almost never say, "Oh yeah, I did this thing and I succeeded." Like there's
a bunch of fails in the middle.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So here's comes the question. So you've done the entrepreneurial journey, you've done the corporate world, you've done the side hustle thing. You've literally done every possible way of doing things, like literally. Yeah. You've built a product business. Now you go back to the agency. What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur versus being an entrepreneur or a side hustlepreneur or whatever you want to call that stuff?
I find it to be really thrilling to have real stakes. I don't know how else to put it. Like there's potential. There's I just see the potential and the opportunity in what I'm doing, and it's just really exciting and fun to get to like think through that and do that and have control over how it all works.
It's
all of that. Yeah, right. And that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I love, and that's exactly it. And if you were going to ask me the things I don't like, it would literally be the exact same answer.
That was the next question. It's all on you.
Yeah, it's the same exact problem. It's one of the big things that I told myself is that the first time I ever did it, people were always like, oh yeah, you get to be your own boss and that's great.
It's not always great.
The problem. It is great to get to be your own boss if you're a good boss.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But the problem
boss
is
yourself.
Yes. That's the tricky part is like okay, you can be your own boss, but are you going to be a better boss than your boss at your current job? You know what I mean? Can you even do that? Like, yeah, right. I also find that just having, the advice is people always talk about like having a nest egg of money in your account before you make the jump helps. I would say that's always seen as advice. I think that is like now, knowing what I know now, is like, it's night and day. Because my first business I ran, I started it because I was just getting started in my career as a web developer. And I didn't have
the experience to get the job.
Yes. I didn't have nobody would hire me. So I hired myself. Right. Yeah. But I didn't have any money. I didn't have any income. My bank account was basically zero. And my first client was literally my aunt. You know what I mean? Because she happened to have, she's a software person. Yeah. And she's like, my orthodontist needs a website. So like, it was literally that, Yeah, exactly. And it was stressful and scary and I was forced to be reactionary and all that stuff. And then this time around, like, I'm not like by any stretch of the imagination rolling in dough or anything like that. But like, I got enough of a runway.
You have your product. Yeah. You have the GoDaddy savings a little bit, which I'm sure those kids will eat through in a heartbeat.
No, they can't have that. They can't touch it. They don't know it exists.
Oh, shh. Don't listen to that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's
good to have a little bit of a runway.
Yes.
Like, you're going to trip, you're going to stumble, and it's going to be like, okay, servers might go down, God forbid, one day, and you have to like ram things up by different servers, like that kind of stuff, like unforeseen issues.
Yeah. And it's even kind of like bigger than that, even. And like, I don't mean bigger, but I mean like a little more existential in a lot of ways, where it's like, okay, I have Siren, I have Novatorious, the agency side. I have all these pieces. I have all this stuff. Thank you. I have all these pieces. And now it's like, okay, so I'm doing these things now. I have these services. I have these skills. I have these resources. Yeah. And I have this much time to figure out how to utilize that to the best of my abilities. Right. So just with that, it just really changes how I approach outsourcing, who I'm outsourcing to, the conversations that I'm having, the people who I'm talking to, the questions I'm asking and things like that. Just that little bit of runway is just giving me enough to like, okay, I have enough room. I have enough space to start developing the business to be able to actually work in a more sustainable way than it was before. Because for me, my biggest problem in my first version of my business was I was very much feast or famine because I couldn't afford to outsource. So I would sell.
And you'd be like,
overwhelm myself.
I gotta do.
I gotta fulfill all the promises I just made. Exactly. And then I do. And guess what? I'm not doing during that time is selling. I'm not taking meetings. I'm not taking calls because I'm too busy doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
So and it was almost like, right. Exactly. So the problem I'd run into, and there are people who can do this. There are people who have the self-control and the ability to maintain their calendar, maintain their things, do this stuff. And like, that is not a strength of mine. It is something I'm working on and it's something I'm trying to do better. Yeah. But like, that is not something I've been historically great at. So, so what I would do,
battle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fair. So, but what I would do is I would sell like crazy when everybody got new fresh budgets in January, right? And I'd be booked up. And then by summer, I'd be out of work. And I'd have no work and no prospects. And it'd be months before I'd pick up anything.
Stupid. And you
right. Yeah.
Stupid.
Exactly.
I'm taking that job. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I guess
so. Like, that is the big thing that I'm trying to like avoid this time is like trying to avoid that feast or famine. And I don't want to put myself back in the same patterns as what I did before. I want to be a better leader. I want to be a better like steward of my code. I want to like, and so there's been a lot of that. And kind of like double dipping in regards to like training developers with client work, right? Teaching them how the Novatorious methods, the, what I call nomadic approach to development and stuff like that, and how all that works, and developing that and documenting that and educating them. So
Documenting.
that
Keyword there.
yeah,
Document the stuff.
yeah,
If you can't, I'll be up
lots of
here.
that. So then I can take those developers, and if they like working with me and they want to continue working with me, to invite them to actually work on Siren itself, because they have now been educated on how to do
you
it,
want things done.
on how I want it done. Right, exactly. So then now if they want to, they can now start to work on Siren with me, so that I can stay focused on the marketing and the sales. I can review the code and make sure things are working, but I'm kind of trying to keep
You're
since
more
day one, I told
project
myself,
managing, which is what I've done with Gold Media, is that I've been like,
yeah,
I'm the project manager. I'm so far detached, unfortunately, now that I'm doing a website myself
yeah,
for a client, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta let this happen again. I gotta make sure I'm a
yeah,
little bit more involved than I was.
yeah, I get that. So
You gotta figure out
that's
the
kind of where
happy
I've been.
balance kind of thing.
Yes, for sure. And for me, that's coming in the form of reviewing the pull requests for the code. So
Yeah.
the process that I'm doing, I've got this, I have this really interesting code driven discovery process that I've been working on, where the code is being written, but instead of completely fleshing out and building everything, you build out the classes for the
Yeah.
code, and then you add comments to the code with to-dos. And then whenever that gets merged, all of those to-dos automatically get added to the correct list inside of my task management system,
Oh, that's
ClickUp.
geek-tastic. That is geek
Yeah.
freaking task. I love it.
Yeah. So now what happens is, as the project progresses, every time there's so then after you do the classes, then you're able to do it again with the methods. So you flesh out what methods need to exist, what they need to return, what they need to accept. And you add to-dos for all those. And then after that, all those tasks, you work on each individual method, do pull requests. But like, as you're going, what's cool is, like, if there's a pull request and there's something that you notice while you're in there, while you're working on something, instead of just fixing it there, because developers, we want to, that's what we want to do, is because it's like, I'm going to forget, I don't want to go through adding this to the system, blah, blah, blah. So now I just tell them, just add it to do.
Add it to do and get it done later. Exactly.
And when it gets merged, it'll get added to the system. We'll add it to the backlog. So you're not breaking that context or any of that stuff. So like,
commenting is key.
Yeah, for sure. So that's been really cool.
What is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Oh, I think really for me personally, it's to maintain my level of burnout. That is something that I struggle with. So like, yeah, so like it's always, people always think about it as like a binary thing, like either you're burnout or you're not.
1 or 0, 1 or 0.
And
exactly.
I don't think of it like that. I think of it as like a scale. Like, so I'm just kind of like doing another thing that I'm doing a better job of paying attention to how I feel from a day-to-day basis, how tired I am.
Go play with the dog. Go walk for a walk with the wife.
Go for a walk. Yeah, and that's been a big thing. Is like Monday,
take your computer and go to the coffee shop. She needs scenery. Yeah,
for sure. A big one I've been doing a lot of has been just simply going on a walk, like you said, and with my wife. I don't like to do it alone, so I'll go on walks. I play disc golf on Tuesdays and on Sundays. Yeah. And I just it sounds silly and it sounds so obvious, but like, that is not something I historically ever did well.
It's
again,
tough
bad
to make
balance.
yourself do something that for yourself when you're vetted and stuff. So that's great.
Right. So like, a lot of it has been like, I have to look at it that way, where it's like, because what that does, by looking at it as a spectrum, like you said, of burnout, and like making sure that thinking of that as like an actual measurable thing that I need to maintain as like, as importantly as my own bank account or other things like that.
It's a bucket thing. Yeah, the bucket.
It's a bucket. Yeah, totally.
So all the analogies in one fell swoop.
Right. Yeah, totally. I got them all. So like, I find myself thinking about that kind of stuff a lot. And I think all of that kind of plays back into what I was saying earlier about being a good boss. And I don't mean just a boss for other people, but I mean for myself.
Like, and taking care of
yes, exactly. So as a business owner, it all falls on you. And I got into this in the first place because I wanted to be my own boss. That was the promise. I loved that idea. I love the word freelance. It's got the word lance in it, and the origin of it even is about mercenaries who would freely be freelances that you could just hire to like do that. Everything about it is so cool. I always loved it, and I always wanted to be a part of it. So like, why am I? But then I got so focused on making the business work that I stopped actually like
lancing.
Well, being a good boss, just taking care of myself. And
absolutely.
so like, there's been a lot of this time in particular, just thinking about that. And a lot of that comes down to outsourcing more. And in order to be able to outsource more, I need to have money. So I need to have that runway that we talked about. So like all of it, you can see how it all kind of like stacks up. Like, okay, because I have this runway, not, it's not huge, but it's enough that if I move quickly and I'm swift as I've been, I can make it work, right? If I have this runway, I can now hire the people and give myself the things I need to be able to run my own business.
Because you're not if you're burned out, you're not doing anyone any help.
Right. Exactly.
Ain't good.
So yeah, totally. So then I'm able to stop myself from being burnt out so that I'm able to actually have enough time to take walks and take care of myself and do those things. So like that's been a lot of the reason why I've moved so fast in the last 2 months has been because I've been aware of how fast I know I'm going to burn myself out. And I know that if I didn't stay ahead of it, I was going to just crush myself in the responsibility of all of this and I wouldn't come out of it okay. So I told myself, I was like,
we're glad you're okay.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
happy
that.
Alex is a happy life.
Yeah, for sure. So I made a point to like move quick, do the thing fast, because I wanted to make sure that I was able to get myself out of overworking myself as fast as I could.
Absolutely.
So that's been a lot of what the last 2 months has looked like. Has been like, okay, I'm drowning. I'm going to continue to drown if I don't do something about this. I need to make sure that doesn't, and fixing it. And I'm actually just now starting to really come out of that. Good. I'm still pretty overwhelmed, and there's still a lot of stuff going on. But I'm at a relatively healthy level. I feel healthy. I feel good. I'm able to like, I feel like I'm taking care of myself. I'm tired. I'm definitely still tired, and I'm definitely there's definitely more on my list than I can personally do. Yeah. But every day, but I see that list shrinking. It's not growing. So I'm starting to see like the signs that there's the velocity and all the things that I'm doing and the progress that I'm making. And
love it, man.
So yeah.
So where can people find you online? I mean, you're prolific on Mastodon in one shape or another. Now you have www in your after the @ and it's kind of hard to find you sometimes. But
I know it drives me crazy. Speaking of overwhelm, you can find me at Mastodon. So it's just Alex at
put it in the show notes. It's
AlexStandiford.com. Yeah,
he's on Mastodon. You're over the web. But that's where you like to hang out a lot. It's on there, right? Because
that's my preferred spot for sure. That's
after my own heart.
Yep. A distant second is X. I'm on there too, at Alex Standiford, but I definitely am with you. I prefer Mastodon.
I can't. I go to X only with the WordPress drama. I go there and peek.
Yeah.
And I don't write anything on there. I'm like, I can't. It just can't. I feel like I have to take a shower afterwards.
Yeah, I get that. So I've been on there a lot, just mostly because a lot of conversations related to Siren and stuff like that happens there. So I've been staying there because of that. But then, of course, alexstandiford.com, my personal website. I publish everything through my site first. So if you're not on Mastodon and you're not on X or anything like that, and you want to connect with me, go there. Everything I publish, everything on there through there. You can add comments to everything. You can talk to me on there.
It is so
of course, you can send me an email. I definitely lean into that part.
Exactly. So awesome. Well, Alex, this has been so much fun. I'm so glad we got to do this. Let's not be as strangers. And guess what? We'll see everyone next week because I'm not crazy.
Oh, how about that? Yeah, no problem. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please consider giving us a review in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps us reach new listeners. If you like Entrepreneur's Enigma, consider the other shows on the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcast.net.
Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.